Hey everybody, welcome to the Gno.land Developer Weekly Call. It's the 29th of May, 2024. I'm actually not even sure what number of our calls this is, but evidently all of our updates are slowing down HackMD for Morgan. So you guys have the agenda, you can see it here. We're gonna kick things off with a short update from Milos, maybe also from Morgan, on the test 4 plans. And we're going to start with Milos on the test 4 plans, and then maybe a quick update on the test 3 debugging that happened from Morgan. So maybe Milos, if you don't mind giving us
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm sorry for the terrible audio. It's coming from my headphones. For some reason, my microphone USB is not working. So hopefully it's not too bad. Yeah. So just
seems great.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So just to give a small update regarding test 4, we've kind of made some internal shifts and just like an internal decision, because we have some other team priorities coming up at the end of June and like early July, especially relating to GopherCons and team efforts and team OKRs that are tied to these specific efforts. We've tentatively, like internally, moved out the test 4 launch deadline to end of July. I'm pretty confident that we're going to launch something, much sooner, even like in the original deadline for end of June. And I'll talk about this in a second, but like internally, the pressure that we have is launching in July. That's the official like narrative that we're pushing. Internally, we're still trying to hit like the original one, which is end of June. Okay. Yeah. In terms of actual updates, if you look at the milestone, I think we're around 72 or 73% complete, which is actually a lot. A lot in completions. A lot of our leftover progress is tied up in PRs that are ready for review, PRs that are bigger efforts to close out 3 or 4 like different issues, or as soon as we merge them. In terms of like actual efforts that we have going, we have no VM fixes that are breaking, so things that we need to fix now in order to launch S4. This is going to be in the official updates for today's agenda, but we started working on validator set injection, RSys, vals, realm, how GovDAO actually works implementation-wise, and how it can change like the set. And these are some of the topics that we discussed on last week's retreat here. In terms of other leftover breaking efforts that we need to figure out, we're still working on gas estimations, GRC refactors, and one bigger effort, which is just standardizing the STD package in terms of both like API and usage, and generally how we refer to the STD package throughout code and in our documentation. So this is something that we're trying to figure out next week and in the coming weeks, how far along we can finish it. But yeah, in terms of like actual progress, we're trying to launch an internal DevNet this week with Albert. We have everything ready. We have the node initialization flow ready. The current thing that was blocking us was we essentially overhauled, and I think we're going to discuss this in the meeting today. We essentially overhauled the way we do releases, and we changed essentially what were our latest like Docker releases, and this kind of messed up some flows that we had going for our CI and infrastructure, right? So this has kind of been a hurdle, but we fixed it this week. So we should be continuing on with the internal DevNet launch either this week or early next week. I know Albert has pretty much everything set ready. The setup that we have is going to be 4 medium machines. They're all going to be validator nodes. We're not going to persist any state. So this is just going to be, for every master push or for every nightly build that we do. So every 24 hours, we just wipe the entire cluster and restart it again. As this is like an internal DevNet, we're not going to be looking for external contributors to actually validate. There will be a period, I think, between actually launching test 4 and us handing off the DevNet where we're gonna kind of onboard new people and test out the documentation and make sure all the flows are actually working. And we're actually counting on OnBlock. I think this is also mentioned in the agenda somewhere. We're counting on OnBlock to help us with the multi-node documentation and just general sanity checks regarding how to run validators and stuff like that. So yeah, there's going to be more information on this. Michelle is actually leading this effort from our side, so she's going to be managing the validators and making sure you guys all have the information that you need to actually join the network and participate in how this is going to work, like going forward for future testnets and later mainnet, right? And yeah, that's kind of the update that I can give.
Okay.
We're going to be posting every other week when we do have these core contributor calls. We're going to be posting updates from our cluster development. So we're going to be posting some metrics, bugs we've encountered, bug fixes we did. Morgan is actually going to cover a bug fix he did for test 3, and why it happened and how it happened and why it was there for.
My rant on the group not enough.
Actually, though, before we maybe move to the test 3 debugging, I don't know if anyone here wants to ask any questions on the test 4 side
Yeah, sure.
right now. Maybe OnBlock or others that are curious about it.
I have a question for generally the contributor community, which is, what do you think about incentivized testnets? Is this something that is interesting to you guys, or have you ever participated in an incentivized testnet in the past, and how's it worked out? I'm not sure if most Cosmos chains do this actually.
When you say incentivized, it's what kind of incentives?
It can be
I
a
didn't
plethora. Yeah, it can be a plethora of other things because this meeting is recorded. I can't really go into the details before cross-checking this, but for example, theoretically, validators who are present for test 4 can receive a pre-allocation for test 5. Wink, wink, or something like that, right? That's my opinion.
So, and my goal right now is to basically have a way to incentivize contributions, and participating in testnet is a contribution. Fixing bugs because you participate in a testnet and basically you find something as an operator is definitely something also giving you recognized contributions. And basically, I think we can probably find a way to make incentivized testnet, or we can just try to use the current plan, which is to measure contributions. And even we can maybe ask someone in the node operators ecosystem to help us define what could be a good contribution for a validator, what makes a good validator, what makes a bad validator. So an option is to make incentivized testnet. Another one is just to consider that being a validator is a kind of contribution, and we need to find a fair way of measuring it. And just giving my 2 cents, but definitely I would love that the day of launch of the mainnet, all the validators are gnomes. They all knew Gno, they all know Gno, they all made actual code contributions on Gno. I don't know if we'll make it mandatory or whatever, but in practice, I will feel way safer to know that we are launching something where maybe some bugs can happen, where everyone is at least interested by Gno, curious enough and expert enough in what is Gno. I think it would be more risky to have people who are just good DevOps, but have no clue of what is Gno and no interest in having Gno being improved. So just as a side note, I think it will definitely pay early validators to help us, especially if they just don't run a node but make good contribution, good bug reports, and actually make a good job at being a validator. And as for everything else, basically the promise I can give is that we try to do our best to make fair things, but in practice, I can't promise anything. I can't promise if a commit, if a PR deserves points. I can just say that don't forget that it will be managed by DAOs of humans who try to do their best to make something fair. So as soon as you basically try to contribute as much as you can with your the best version of yourself in practice, I think you should expect that it will pay something. Can be learning, can be remain token or something. I just can't say what exactly. But yeah, I would feel better if we launch a network where early validators and early users are not just people who discover a new RPC port and a new website, but people who made contributions, understand what is the goal, what is the mission, how it works internally. And I would definitely prefer to count on them to help us explain what is Gno and scale the next generation of non-expert people around us.
Okay. All right. Well, if there aren't
That was the best explanation I've heard in a very long time for any change.
Another thing to know is we need validators. Blockchains need validators, and some chains, from what I know, I don't want to name them, but I know that some chains are very bad for validators, and actually, if they are running, it's because validators are making cash by having dApps. I think we need to make a chain that can pay people who are just good at being validators. This is one of our missions. It's not maybe the most important one because we can find people who will have interest to secure the chain for other reason, but at some point, it's definitely one of our targets to make an ecosystem where being a validator is a good job. And being a good validator is a good job. So yeah, let's try to join a contributor ecosystem as a validator who can contribute, not only by validating. And don't forget that, yeah, we depend on validators at the end, so we will find something fair because the system needs good validators that are happy to validate if we want to make something sustainable. And this is our job to make sustainable systems.
So actually now is the incentivized testnet where people can contribute, but it's considered as part of test 4 and then test 5 and 6 and 7. I don't know, are there any more questions from the contributors on this point? Any thoughts? Any? Okay, if not, maybe we can move on to the test 3 debugging rant from Morgan. Just to give context as to like what happened, what was solved. Your feelings today.
I'll try not to rant on too much because we have a packed agenda. Essentially, this Monday we were trying to push out a change on which we'll discuss later, which essentially makes it so that the default port for connecting to the RPC for the RPC nodes, instead of being like this double 26657, sorry, and 36657, it's now condensed into 26657. So that's the official port that you can use to connect to the RPC to the RPC endpoints. And we wanted to make this change also happen on test 3, sorry. And what we found out is that nobody had restarted test 3 in a very long time. And when we tried to do that, the whole thing crashed and burned. So we kind of went on a debugging session to try to figure out what was happening. The long and short is that because of the way that we sort of recover the block nodes at the beginning of transactions, which I know may mean nothing to you, but essentially, like, because of how we recover state, we do something which is a bit, cursed, which is that we sort of restore, essentially we rerun all the packages at the beginning of Gno.land start. to get back more information about the packages which we're not able to store in the database yet. And because of like some weird magic around maps being shared when they were not supposed to, and other stuff, it essentially meant that there was a package that was causing the whole thing to fail. There is more details on the issue 2217. The sort of underlying bug was actually fixed in master for the past few weeks, and will hopefully like improve the whole like storage problem sooner rather than later. Especially with with some batches of upcoming work which aim to sort of tackle a bit of the technical debt we have in Gno. And yeah, there's more information on the issue and on Signal. I'm sure you've already partly read my rants on that. So I'll leave it off for today.
Okay. I don't know if anyone has questions on this, or like if anyone experienced anything, has feedback. All right. Well,
Just we did this effort to sort of maintain test 3, but test 3 will sort of be a bit into maintenance mode. Both Albert and Milos are very, very much wishing to pull the cord on test 3. I've heard this phrase being repeated a few times. I don't think we'll probably pull the cord for test 2. We'll probably keep it at least for a while running. But yeah, as soon as we launch test 4, test 3 will not receive many further updates, and everything that you worked on should be moved to test 4, including wallets and whatever, right?
okay. Since many of you couldn't join us in Belgrade, Nemanja, do you mind just giving a quick recap of the Belgrade engineering retreat for folks here, so they feel like they were there?
Sure. So the majority of the team got together in Belgrade for a week of workshops and collaboration, visits to the botanical garden, etc., etc. So we had a bunch of great conversations around GovDAO, around Test 4, what happens beyond. We covered Game of Realms, No Web, and a couple of other topics. I'll be compiling some documents in the coming weeks, and we'll be publishing some articles on that as well. So we will get you up to speed with all the decisions that we made as soon as possible. Unfortunately, Milos stole most of the thunder around Test 4, so there's not anything else tangible to say at this point.
Okay. I added this portal loop recent changes update. I don't know if this is something someone wants to grab and explain. I saw it as it came up in the GitHub feed in Discord, so I put it here. I don't know if there's anything that needs to be communicated to contributors on portal loop with some of these recent changes.
It's probably the standard house fire that we have
Okay.
on the infrastructure every other week that Albert was solving yesterday.
Okay.
There's some notes here in the Gno.land section. We'll cover it later.
Okay, sounds good. Because you can track all of your updates on Discord. That's how I get my GitHub feed. I think we already covered this, right? Morgan, the consolidated port numbers.
Yeah, not much more to add than that.
Okay.
Yeah, you Test 3 is now accessible through 26657. That's about it. Portal loop is also 26657, I think, and Node dev should also be, and everything. And so everything else.
Okay, so then moving on, Milos, do you want to, because this is something we talked about, I think, at the retreat, the overhaul of lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is an old PR that we merged. I think it was last week or so.
Okay.
Basically what this PR is it overhauls the way you do Gno.land start. So previously, if you, for example, like cloned the repo and had no idea like what node secrets are, or what a node configuration is, or what a node genesis is, what you could do is you could literally say Gno.land start, and, and like magically all of this would be generated for you, and you would be able to start a blockchain node, right? Okay. What we did essentially as part of this effort for us to overhaul this entire process on how you actually start chains and how you start nodes, and just give you more configurability on every single step of the process. And I literally mean like every step, from manipulating verifying like Genesis configuration to manipulating every configuration param, to manipulating secrets, to changing them, to regenerating them, etc. What this PR essentially was the final step of that process, which was it moved the lazy initialization under a flag. So now when you want to start lazily start like a blockchain node, the Gno blockchain node, you would need to specify the lazy flag. So you start like start -- lazy, and what it's going to do is essentially going to regenerate any kind of missing secrets that you have, any kind of Genesis JSON you're missing, any kind of configuration you're missing. If you have all of those things before you run Gno.land start, it's not going to have any effect, right? But as the previous functionality did, but we just made this a lot more explicit, and now in the terminal you can actually see what it's like generating for you. It's not doing some magic behind the scenes. It's literally telling you, hey, I noticed you didn't have like a validator key, so I generated it for you and I put it into the Genesis JSON. Or I noticed you didn't have like a configuration, I generated a default for you, and we're gonna use that, right? If you have a custom configuration, it's also fine. It's not gonna regenerate anything that's already there. It's mimicking like the previous functionality. So this is just for us. It leaves the door open for us to actually drop this in the future. So if we don't want to support laziness in the future, it's about removing like 20 lines of code. But for now, it's there because it's very convenient actually. We found out like some flows for us that didn't make like quite sense. For example, when you're generating, for example, you want to generate a multi-node cluster and you need to share output of a secrets command into your Genesis command, right? So you want to add, for example, somebody to the validator set that's in your like secrets folder. So you want to add your own key basically. Currently, like the way you got to do it is you essentially need to run the secrets fetch command, which gives you like displays the secret for you, and then you need to take it manually and put it into the Genesis command, right, for validators. Somebody noticed, I think it was actually Albert. He's like, well, why don't you guys have like a nice JSON output that I can use to parse and plug this in? And it made complete sense. And this is why we're keeping around lazy in this functionality. So we're just continuing to improve the node initialization flow and everything. So yeah, and this command is actually going to be one of the bedrocks. This functionality here is going to be one of the bedrocks for our documentation for multi-nodes.
Okay, thanks, Milos. Then this other update is we are going to be publishing our Golang Serbia meetup and the team engineering retreat updates on the blog. So if you guys want to read about it, you will be able to read it there. We had a really good meetup event with Dylan presenting, so it was a good event. Moving on, we've got coins now have more functionality, and no, I think
this is Leon, but he's out of office.
Yep.
So I'll cover it.
Yeah.
Just yeah, this PR adds some new coin constructors and functionality, checking whether a coin is positive or adding a coin to another in a way that is safe. By safe, I mean guards against overflows and underflows. So if you're working like with the sort of the native tokens, this is with the banker. This is the way to sort of use them and add them instead of adding the amounts individually, which without overflow checks can sort of create problems. And yeah, there is a Leon on the side of the documentation on the official docs website. So you can check that out, or you can check out Gno.doc std to see the documentation straight from the code.
I don't know if always interrupt me if there are questions. So if not, I will move on to NoPLS. Yay! Harium, do you want to give us an update on what this means for folks?
If you guys have used VS Code, you might have been using it already. But if you use any other editor, please give it a try.
Okay. I don't know if anyone has questions on this or, but
I'm sure Norman has a lot of opinions on this.
and if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be quite useful for the DevX team too.
What is the benefit over GoPLS?
It is just like GoPLS, but it works for no file. GoPLS doesn't support any other extension than Go.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Any other questions on that one? All right. So the next one is Nora. So we are calling it Nora, the blockchainless Go interpreter. No interpreter. Antonio, since it was a big focus on the team retreat, do you mind giving just a quick update on?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Nora is not the interpreter itself. The interpreter will be eventually living on the Gno repository, and it will be used as a library. And Nora is basically a proof of concept using this interpreter that is without any blockchain stuff on it. So yeah, as you see, there is like a small document explaining all the functionality for that proof of concept, this binary, and all the functionality, what we want to do with it to demonstrate how this PM or this interpreter will work, providing some use case. That's it. So yeah, if you are curious, you can go inside and see all the functionality that we are going to implement on the following month, basically.
Are we keeping this here, Antonio, in HackMD, or is it also referenceable on GitHub as well, or is it just currently here for now?
I think this document as it is will be living here, but eventually we are going to have like a proper repository with a README, with some documentation, but yeah, this document as it is will be here only.
Okay. So if you all want to check it out, I guess most people probably have access to it from the community side, but if not, let us know. All right, so let's move on, I guess.
Question.
Sorry? Yeah.
Is the plan to integrate it with Gno.run?
Yeah, the plan, if you go to the document, the plan is basically create our own version of the VM keeper. So you will have the same or similar methods with the run, have the call, add package. Everything will work as it is, like the VM keeper is working, but without all the blockchain stuff, like all the things like the banker, like the exec context. We are gonna change to make it an interface, so you can like using different interfaces to implement and add to the context only the information that you need for your use case.
Got it. So it's like Gno.land smart contract programming, just without the blockchain, and it doesn't sound
Exactly.
like it'll replace Gno.run. Gno.run will still remain the minimal interpreter.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome, thank you.
We are still on the fence on like the idea is to develop it into different binary, also to get something done within the next month. But we are thinking, once we finish this effort, we want to understand how much of what we did can be brought back into GNOME, into like the GNOME binary without, like adding too much, like, overriding the GNOME runs behavior, but maybe adding it, as a GNOME something subcomment, right? That you can have like extra stuff going on. But we'll kind of figure that out after we have Gnona and can see the difference between like what's nicer which one is nicer to use, essentially, right?
Mm-hmm. Is there also any plans to get Gno.run? I don't know the state of Gno.run, whether the basic, whether it's actually usable as an interpreter or the REPL. Is there like
we now have
Mhm.
Gno.run now has sort of a way to execute arbitrary expressions, a debugger, and there's the REPL. So I
How
would
good
say
is
it's working fine.
Yeah, is the REPL complete? Would you say?
Complete, maybe not. It's not like but it's pretty good, I would say. And I'm not. Yeah, I wouldn't know, how to define complete exactly. Like, it's probably not as nice to use as Python yet. But it's nice.
It's nice. Yeah. Okay. I mean, as in the REPL was really basic and bad before, and I'm not sure how much work has been put into it since it's like original inception.
Mark made some like Mark and Antonio, I think, made some very good improvements on the REPL. So it now supports like multi-line statements, so like conditionals, and
Nice.
will automatically execute when you close brackets, and variable declarations, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, I feel like we might want to maybe during the presentation or the workshop just show that there is a REPL for GopherCon. So if anyone has any ideas on how to improve it, that would be great.
Yeah, a possible improvement would be maybe to have to add a completion on the Go language or the Gno language, and I think there was already an effort in the past to do that, and this is maybe something we could decide to bring back, because it's a small effort. It's not a too big effort.
Okay.
So maybe we could consider that. We have not yet. No work has been forecast on the AWPL so far, but this is something that we could consider before the launch or before the demo.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Are there any more comments or questions from everyone on this? I mean, I know there's a lot to do, but does anyone want to comment on this? If not, hopefully you have access to the doc.
Yeah, I'll make a short comment. I mean, I think it was Russ Cox who said that he was interested in a Go interpreter.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure, if with a REPL. I think he mentioned the REPL. Is Matt right here?
Yes, basically, you want something to compete with Python.
Yeah. All right.
So REPL, I don't know, to be honest, but at least making not only to build binaries that will host all the servers in the world, but also a language for scripting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I'm not
think
sure.
his dream is basically to have people making commits and repo where they replace Bash or Python with Go scripts.
Mm. Yeah. Well, Bash, I think for sure. Python would be a little difficult to compete with, given the speed. That'll probably take a while to make it faster.
I'm not sure because definitely when you make scripting, your main topic is not performance, it's more how much the script will won't break over time and how much the language you are using is providing good libraries. And on this point, definitely you can have preference for Python, but I think Go definitely have very interesting libraries. So actually for some people could be a very big match, very good match.
Fair. All
But
right.
yeah. I
Okay.
think if we have something to demonstrate, we should just ping the Go core team during GopherCon and discuss.
Okay. All right. Okay. So it doesn't sound like we need any auto completion for the REPL per se, but yeah, just getting Go run and to work well and Go REPL to kind of work well enough sounds pretty good. Thank you very much.
Okay. Let's move on then. If there's nothing else, then we should maybe move on to section 2 around the blockchain side of things. So what's new? Miloš, do you want to give us, I mean, I know you briefly mentioned it earlier, but just how our nightly release is going to happen in the future, what people can expect.
I will give this honor to Antonio,
Sorry, okay, Antonio.
who brought salvation with actually good releases with Go Releaser. So
Yeah, so yeah, we implemented the Go Releaser in 3 different ways, if I'm remembering correctly. One of them is for standard releases, like the B, like creating a tab with B something. Then this will create automatically a release with all the binaries, all the Docker containers. We are like supporting a bunch of new architectures with Docker. Now our images, instead of being 400 megabytes, I think they are only 20, 30 megabytes. Also, yeah, we are gonna support like building Docker images and also like releasing on every master commit. It's helpful for a portal loop and things that are like out continuously getting the latest build. And also we have another build that it's called nightly, that will be like every day from Monday to Friday with everything that is there. And I think that's all.
Okay. That was pretty cool. We're getting into a release system. Okay, I think this is Guillaume, right? You fixed or disabled.
It's actually Morgan that
okay, sorry.
the PR, but
Just
it's a
so no
simple
doubt.
PR that disable wall for Gno.land. So you will not have like now a folder that pop in the root directory like from nowhere. And yeah, that's it. Thanks, Morgan.
Okay. I think now, Alexi, if you want to give us a quick update on all kind of the improvements to NoWeb.
Yeah, of course. While we started an initiative to revamp NoWeb design and front, back sites to make it more robust, minimal, clean, fast, efficient to use and update, we needed a way to improve the Markdown rendering for blog content. As you may know, since we merged the portal loop, all pages of the Gno.land website are actually WYON, and many of them are blog posts. while we used to have two kinds of pages before, statics and realm. So because the style was created initially to make a distinction between these two kind of pages, we need a way to fix it and to make this distinction again between section page and block pages for CSS. Of course, at least as a short-term solution before the revamp is finished, before everything with everything lean. So now we have a clean markdown rendering in blog post again, and it will be easier to make a rendering fix in the following weeks.
Okay. I don't know if there's any comments or questions, but if not, since in the essence of time, I will move on. Looks like
Yeah, this is actually from Varmeta. Wait, can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay. This is actually from Varmeta. So thanks. This limits the import paths, packet realm paths to be 256 bytes in size, something that we discussed a few PRs ago relating to the banker, and it's now been implemented. And yeah, just avoids having 2 megabyte import paths, which could maybe be done earlier. Anyway, yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Is it just me that's frozen, or is Michelle frozen?
No, Michelle's frozen. Michelle has left the meeting, actually.
She really wanted paths longer than 256 bytes.
oh no,
She's had enough.
There she is.
I don't know what happened. I mean, I do know what happened. My internet went down, but I don't know why. Okay, sorry about that. I'll edit that out of the recording.
While you set up the recording, I guess Milos can talk about the telemetry statistics that have been added to the node.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is a small PR where we essentially introduced a lot more telemetry to the node. If you remember, I think it was like the initial version of Tournament Classic or Tournament Core used to have Prometheus built in. At one point, this was removed for just for simplicity and keeping it minimal. What we've introduced a few months back with Dylan's PR was just basic support for open telemetry, so nothing Prometheus specific, right? Just like a standard that we can support for any kind of metrics. And the initial metrics that we did have were, I think, 2. So it was block build time or something like that, and transaction broadcast time. I think those were like the 2 metrics. This PR, what essentially did is it basically used the exact same system. It just expanded out to differing metrics that you would need when you're actually running a node. So, for example, the number of valid transactions in the mempool, or the average number of CPU cycles used on the VM, or the number of peers you have, or like the average voting power of your validator set, or like the average JSON RPC response time, and stuff like that. Usually things that kind of indicate problems or can give you a firm idea of what's happening in the network, right? And yeah, this PR, it also introduced a very small demo in MISC telemetry that you can spin up locally and just see how it works. I took a very crappy screenshot here. It's like we usually have like much better. If you look at like DevOps screenshots of their like dashboards, they're much more sophisticated. This is very crappy, so I apologize. But yeah, the functionality is still the same, and I think we actually didn't mention it in the agenda, but this week we finally closed on hiring a dedicated Gno DevOps. So we're going to have Sergio start as the Gno DevOps for us in a few weeks. I don't think we've mentioned this anywhere, but yeah, this is official news. And you should see his Grafana dashboards. They make me look like a script kiddie. So yeah, lots more to come in terms of node management and telemetry.
Okay, so I guess then moving along to what's planned in the next 2 weeks. I added this, Guillaume, the 2113. I don't know if it's something you want to highlight. I saw that it was a request, or it was a draft request for feedback.
Yeah, because I didn't. I need a review from Jeff first on this, or on any other one actually, to have some feedbacks. It kind of block until I have like the green flag to continue. It's actually implementing marshalling of type description in Amino. That means you can like marshal type description, and actually it will unlock the message keeper JSON message, because that's the only thing I was missing, like having the JSON marshalling using Amino and not the standard library JSON. So it's actually working, but I need to maybe do some tests and everything, but I will only continue if I have a green flag. I don't want to spend too much time on it if it's not like worth it. But yeah, to sum up, like this PR, if merge, will unlock the message keeper JSON message.
Okay, so request for feedback
Yeah.
in order to move forward. Sorry, specifically from anyone? Sorry, Guillaume?
Yeah. Please, Jay, can you give a look?
Yeah, Jay. Yeah.
Was there a request?
The request is to review the PR from Guillaume, adding a new method, so we can have a type description on Amino to support arbitrary JSON construction from return value from Gno. So the old PR adding JSON support natively in the keeper was blocked because you preferred having Amino. It was not able yet to support any or interfaces. Guillaume adds support for this, which unlocks JSON from the keeper, but also just add on Amino the notion of type description.
It's adding it to the Amino global store.
To
The global variable.
No.
There's a native support.
You mean the package?
I'll take a look. I'll take a look for sure. Okay.
Yeah.
That sense. I think there were some audio issues, but yeah, they will take a look. Okay, sorry. So moving on to the no FMT. Guillaume, do you mind giving us a quick?
Yeah, sure. So this one, like, is it's like adding like FMT, like Go will do, but it's also integrating Gno import. So you can expect like what actually Go import actually do. Really is the same. Maybe I add another feature which is diff. I don't know if we want to keep it, but it's what actually we do in CI is to run Gno import and then do a diff. For me, it's actually really helpful for debugging, but I'm pretty sure this feature can be very useful on the CI directly. What else? Yeah, the only thing I miss on this PR to do, and I just think about it like yesterday, is to create an importer interface so we can customize how we want to actually resolve import. And I think this could be useful, like if we do, for example, Gno import on the playground, or if we want to use import for directly from the chain. To customize actually how we resolve import. So I don't think it should be like really hard to add. Yeah, in the CPR, there is a lot of files that have been updated, but actually there is only 3 or 4 files. The rest is actually GNO if empty on the wall example folder and stdlib folder. So that's why you have like that many change in this PR, but there is not much change.
Okay. So thanks, Gillum. Then shall we talk? I don't know, Manfred, if your audio is okay, but discussions and initial implementations about our upgrade pattern.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
So the goal is to propose not a final solution, but something which is probably easier to implement first. It was from a discussion with Jay to basically support upgrading a package. And instead of having to manage data migration, we just trash all the previous state. So it's the responsibility of the developer who wants to patch, to upgrade the package, to know that basically all the data will be lost. And what I add as a constraint for this method is to make the package not importable. So we don't have to manage the notion of having another realm storing a pointer to something declared in the erased state. So if some developers want to maybe flag a package as not importable, in practice we could offer them a new blockchain handler that would upgrade and trash previous state. And it could be particularly interesting for special realms. For instance, the home one. Home is the home page of a user or a team, where the goal is to both present yourself with Markdown, but also to configure some potential system official realms. So yeah, it's definitely an RFC. We're looking for comment, and this it's not perfect, but it has the advantage of being potential.
I no longer know if this is my audio or is that Manfred's. That's Manfred's audio.
I don't
Yeah,
hear
that's
him either.
Manfred.
Okay, because I've also had the audio issues. All right.
What he said was brilliant. We just didn't hear it.
Right, the potential, and then we didn't get to hear the potential. Unfortunately, the next part is also Manfred, so I don't know if he's continuing to have technical difficulties. Manfred, if not, or if he is, then maybe we should move on to the VM and no section, if that sounds okay. And if there's anything that he needs to update around governance and DAO, we can do it if the audio works for him. So Morgan, do you want to give a bit of an update on the standard libs test that you're working on with issue 2110?
Sure.
Sorry, pull request.
Okay. 2110. This is very straightforward. We had disabled standard library testing for a while, just because Antonio was setting up the CI again, but that's now been set back. I'll cover a bunch of other updates in the Gno.land section as usual.
All right. So then let's move on with those. Okay. Yeah.
The test set prev realm has been renamed to test set realm. What this means, this like test set prev realm was added by Blake from Unlock a few weeks back. I had some comments about the design. So essentially this has been updated to, instead of having test set prev realm and test set prev address, to just be test set realm. And so what that will do is that it will take like the function in which it's being called and sort of say, okay, this function is not what it like. It's not in the sort of package or realm. It is in. It's actually like in this realm, or it's this user. So you can use it to also mark like prev realm as a user. And this will sort of work transparently also if you use like helper functions or other things to help you test functions. So when you do test set realm, then the value that you passed in will be the value of current realm, and any functions you call within that function will have prev realm set to the realm you set. Sorry if that was confusing. But there's more information on the issue anyway. Assert origin call will now panic for message run. This was something that was discussed a few months ago when we were sort of on the very long discussions about what to do with assert origin call, get origin caller, is origin call, and so on. So now assert origin call will make sure of one specific thing, which is that you are calling the function in which you're sort of calling assert origin call directly in message call. So you're not running it with message run or any other system, or you're not calling a function which is calling an assert origin call function.
And then previous realm will not return the user realm.
Yep. This is another function in the context of what Tomas has been working on. So yeah, now when you use message run, the sort of the user what you're uploading as the code to be executed will essentially be called as if it was the user directly. It essentially means that doing prev realm from contract call with message run will just yield the user directly instead of like the user's realm. So the usage of message run is now more similar to calling to using message call. Yeah, the last two, they are from external contributors. So std current realm path has been replaced by std.currentrealm.path, thanks to Varmeta. And parsing Gno files will now print all the errors that have been encountered instead of only the first one, thanks to Miguel from Telectali. Shall I go on with what's planned next?
That sounds perfect.
Yep. So Mark has been working on improving the coverage of GNO VM tests. In the effort of speed, I'll sort of quickly sum up what this is about. Essentially, with work that Mark's been undertaking with the debugger, he's now sort of bringing the testing system back into the Gno.land package, and that essentially means we now have more realistic statistics around the coverage. We're currently reviewing this PR, but that should bump up our stats and should point us to where we can improve our coverage in the codebase. There's some VM fixes being worked on by Peta, Maxwell, and Dylan, such as those regarding cyclic definitions and struct declarations, dependencies on global variables. So there's a lot of looping here, like circular structures. So also fixing variable declaration loops and defaulting untyped numbers to unsigned integers when necessary. Then last two things, the standard library changes will be coming. This is something that I mentioned last week in the contributor call. So we're working on reorganizing the STD package into two packages. We'll be coming out with a proposal probably next week, and there we'll start the discussions. We'll obviously be kept in the loop, but this will obviously be a working change. And then finally, we're sort of approaching merging a type checking in Gno.land. So you can now use, after this, you will be able to use Gno.land to do the same type checking that is now done on chain. Okay, that's it.
I don't know if anyone has questions, but that was fast.
Will you repeat everything again? I didn't catch the last 5 minutes.
No.
It felt like a loop. So okay, so then maybe just like 5 more minutes. Do you mind, Milos, giving us a quick update on Tendermint 2?
Yeah, the first part, I think we already mentioned it.
Okay.
And the parentheses thing is related to me calling on block for help on the multi-node documentation. So guys, whenever you're ready, we can start working on this.
Yeah.
If you scroll down, I'm not sure what the other one was. Yeah, so BFT chest in the CI has been fixed. I will give the honors to Gillum because I think this is our 20th try to actually fix this failing chest in CI, and he finally did it. So our CI is finally green after, I'm not even joking, probably 6 months. So Gillum, if you want to do a quick snippet.
Oh, that's fine. Like, actually, it was much more about the test than the actual problem. An actual problem. It was only the test. But hard to find, really hard to find what's going on.
I love this, using J-trick.
Yeah, I start with some tricks that Jay found, and then I continue on adding more tricks to debug the system.
Cool. Okay, then sorry, this is all you, Milos. The graphic validator injection implementation.
Yeah, so this is something I mentioned as part of the test for updates. We have an initial implementation ready for our sys vals. The initial implementation is just an example implementation for POA where you can essentially set like an initial set and you can vote other validators in if you have like the majority of the votes. And POS, which is I basically stake something in like native currency, right? So Gnot, Ugnot, and I become a validator. And the thing about this system is it just leaves us room for a plethora of other implementations, most notably perfect contribution, where the decision of whether or not you actually enter a set is not a protocol thing that's like decided on the realm, but it's actually decided by another entity. So like on chain, but by a DAO or votes by a DAO. If we go back, the other one was So the other one was, and that's this the RSys vals one is just ready for reviews regarding the API. So if you're somebody who runs validator nodes, take a look at the API on that PR and give feedback. The other PR was concerning validator set injections from RSys vals. So what this basically means is instead of having our validator sets managed completely on disk, so from Genesis, and any kind of change that we do is like managed by a module. This kind of goes in the direction of having the validator set management completely on chain and reactive to any events that happen on chain. The way this actually works is it uses logic from NBlocker. So whenever NBlocker runs, basically there's some logic that evaluates what should be the updates to the validator set, and then this is passed off to the SDK code that applies these changes and like recalculates the proposer priority and stuff like that. Currently, like the implementation of this PR is event based. So what happens is whenever an event is emitted on chain from like the specific realm, this event is caught somewhere in like the SDK event system. Thank you, Byung-Jun from Unblock for this. We catch this event, we parse this event, and as soon as NBlocker is called, it essentially gives it the updates, the validator updates that the SDK needs like further down the line to actually apply them. The other approach to this that we're also discussing is just having the VM actually run on every call. So nothing that's event based, or it can be like a hybrid, like you get an event and then you run the VM. Running the VM, of course, means you would call like an on-chain function to give you the current set and not have to like construct like what are the changes from the events, right? So these are like 3 options. One is completely event-based. The other one is completely VM-based. So you run the VM on every NBlocker. And the third one is hybrid, where you don't run the VM on every block, but as soon as you get like that an event has happened on the realm, you actually run the run the VM to evaluate the expression. So yeah, this is still like looking for comments. So if you guys have any opinions, you can leave comments on this. Yeah.
Okay, and I think the last one was this exit code error.
Yeah, this is a nice UX thing by Morgan. Morgan, if you want to cover it.
Yeah, just quickly, this is mostly internal. I don't think anyone is using PKG comments out of us. Essentially just means that it's better for, this improves like testing when for anything that uses os.exit. So instead of using os.exit, comments will now have to use exit code error, which will not stop the testing and the program and everything when executed. That's about it.
Okay. Also, I will just put a PSA out. I think we've shared with you guys the Gno.mod survey. So far, we've had 3 feedback from that. If you are using Gno.mod and can provide feedback, that would be great. I think Hariam and others would be very appreciative. So, yeah. Are there any, I mean, I know now we're over time, but are there any questions from the team, from contributors on everything that was covered?
Norman has a question.
Ah, okay.
It's not really on something that was covered, but I really like to hear the rationale of using a sequential nonce instead of a random nonce in transactions, because I don't really understand it. I think random nonces are superior, but that's my point of view.
Oh, for what specifically? So, like account nonces and transactions, or something else?
Yeah, the sequence number actually.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the reasoning behind that is you essentially need a way to I wouldn't say like sequence transactions, but for example, if account A has like 20 transactions, right? The first one is he transfers funds to account B. The second one is he deploys something. The third one is he does like a balance transfer, whatever, and so on and so forth. You need this kind of ordering mechanism that's not based on just like the transaction time. You need a way to actually order this. I think it's for like the primary purpose is for replay protection, but it has a lot of other UX benefits, specifically for the mempool. It's actually one of the bugs that we have currently in the mempool, which it doesn't take into account the actual sequence number of the transaction when it's parsing like account transactions. But yeah, the gist is basically just for replay protection, so you can't like replay a transaction again.
I understand, but for the replay, we can use a random nonce. So, but I didn't know about all the other things. So if you have some kind of document that explains the other reasons, I'd really like to have it.
Yeah, I'll send it over. No worries.
Thanks.
Okay.
How do you think that? Sorry, maybe it's a kind of dumb question and it's been solved like 30 other times in blockchains, but like how can you have like random nonce, which is coordination with blockchain, which avoids avoids like replay attacks? Like, is it random generated on the last transaction made by the user, or is it like how's it generated?
Just using a random cryptographically random prevents replay. I think because you can only apply it once. I guess you would have to have a cache of. I don't know, because I think that's what Bitcoin does. Maybe I'm mistaken. I don't think Bitcoin has a sequence number. So it probably has a cache, not cache, but a store of all the used nonce, something like that. Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe my lack of knowledge shows.
Okay.
It's also
Yeah, no, okay,
effectively a countermeasure against DDoS. Basically, the same user can only make one transaction per block cycle, more or less. You can't have 1,000. You can't submit 1,000 transactions to happen at the same time.
Well, you can. I mean, you just gotta increase the number.
Yeah, if you're the only one doing that, right? Yeah, but not if someone else is doing that and you're not coordinating the sequence members. So, but I don't know if that was the original purpose, but it has that effect.
Yeah. Anyway, I think like discussing, because with the nonces we'd have to have a store of the nonces. Could be done, but let's discuss on the issue. All right.
Sure.
I think the bigger problem is the account number, but I digress, because you essentially don't have empty accounts like you have in Ethereum, right? So in Ethereum, if you request like a balance for an account that doesn't exist or something like that, like any kind of parameter from the account, it's going to return like an account that doesn't exist, like an empty account, so 0 or whatever. But here, if you request an account that actually has literally not been initialized, you're going to cause it to error out somehow. It's not going to give you any balance. It's not going to give you anything, because it literally, like, every account needs to be initialized and stay with an account number. That's like a global increment. That's the spicier question that I have. Like, why would we even have that? But I'll leave it for another time.
I have the same question, so let's open another issue.
Okay, so 2 issues to open.
One is already open, but yeah.
Okay, sorry, 1 and then a second. Okay. I know we're over, so I want to be mindful of everyone's time. If there's not anything else, I just put another comment out there. We are often holding office hours on Discord with Leon or other of the core team. So if you guys want to join us Thursdays at 2:30, you can come there too, ask questions, chit chat. Some of the students are there too. So yeah, putting it out there. And then thanks everyone for your time, for updating us all on progress. And then we'll see you next week for updates from the contributor group. Cheers. Bye. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
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 Thank you.
Bye.